Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition of Board with the Mayor. I am here this evening with the Field Library Board of Trustees, and I want to say thank you all for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having us.
All right, good.
So board with the mayor means B-O-R-E-D?
The other board, depends on how the show goes. So I'm just going to ask a few questions to you wonderful ladies here so that people can get an idea of what goes on at the Field Library as far as, in your opinion. So my very first question that I think a lot of people out there would like to know is, what is the day-to-day responsibilities, or what is the day-to-day life like as a board member for the Field Library? We can start with you.
Sure. So as a Board of Trustees member, we don't really have day-to-day responsibilities. Those are, the running of the library is to our director, Jennifer Brown. So my responsibility is to keep up with communications from Jennifer or the other trustees, to keep up with events that are related to the library, in case there's something I want to discuss at a board meeting, to attend, things that the public attends, and that's about it.
Okay. Now, for this year, what would you say your expectations are in the Field Library? Are we looking for, I know you guys host a lot of events, like you guys do the film festivals, and they do the, there's one event where they had like the vegetables and everything set up outside, and I love it. I love it, I can say that much. But what are the expectations for the Field Library this year?
Well, what's interesting is one of the roles of the trustees is to really understand our longer-term strategy.
Good.
And so Melinda's been on the board 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I've been on the board a little over a year. Sandy Smith is our president, and she's been on the board over 5 years. And so part of what we're looking at is, where's the library going? Libraries have changed. It's not just you come and take a book and bring it back. If you were to look at any of the statistics, the amount of circulation, people taking books and bringing them back, continue to go down. But the people coming into the library and using the computers, participating in teen programs, children's programs, adult book clubs, adult programs, keeps increasing. So our goal is, how do we have enough space for it all? And how do we partner with everybody so that we can sort of share the wealth in terms of what the needs are? But we also need an active volunteer group. And so a lot of libraries have a separate group that just does fundraising for them called the Friends. And so one of the goals this year is to really re-energize the old Friends of the Field Library group. And there is a trustee who's kind of taken point on that project to kind of get that up and running. Because as a library, we basically rely on taxpayer funds. We're funded with a tax levy from the city and a small tax levy from Cortland.
Okay.
And so, and then, we have some other small, revenues, but that's the bulk of our funding.
Okay.
So unless there's a group out there really doing fundraising for us so we can expand what we offer, then we're really constrained.
Gotcha.
And I'm sure a lot of the public probably remembers that in the summer, usually at the farmer's market, the executive director and maybe sometimes some volunteers are there with a petition asking people to get our resolution on the ballot in November, which would say, here's our tax levy, and we need to gather so many signatures so the public can even vote on it. So that's how we're funded. And so, as you can imagine, with all the scrutiny on how much taxes go up, we're very sensitive to that, but there's a lot of demand for what we do.
Of course it is. Thank you so much. Yeah. So there's so many people that use that utilize the library. Who do you think you cater to most? Like, you think more seniors or kids or millennials, as they call us?
I think that's probably one of my goals and the board's goal, to get our community to be more involved in the usage of our library. We know that children come in and they work in the library, they do homework, we provide assistance for them to get their projects done. But I think it's important to us to get the rest of the population to come into our library. We're a city library. We're a walking library. And we're in a community that is a driving community. So many of our folks that we don't see regularly in the library go to the driving libraries. They'll go to Montrose, they'll go to Yorktown, then maybe they'll go to Garrison. And I think, and I think many of us agree, that it's important to get a lot of these people that we're missing into the library.
Right.
And that dovetails on what Mary was saying, that the whole face of libraries has changed. I mean, most of us, well, some of us, remember going into the college libraries, and you reach the pinnacle if you could go down into the stacks, you know, and someone would let you into the basement. And now we've got a 3D printer, and we make things.
Right.
It's a
I've
whole
seen those.
different
I've seen
library.
those. Yes, those are awesome.
I mean, you've seen our art gallery.
Yeah.
We offer films. It's, I think Jennifer could tell us exactly how often our film series
Monday
are. but
night?
Every Monday night.
Every Monday
we
night.
have
A different movie show.
we have a different movie showing, free to the public. They're usually rated PG, PG-13, so for the most part, family friendly.
Of course.
We have programs, 2 or 3 programs a day, nearly every day of the week.
No way.
Yeah, if you look at our program calendar, between the children's programs, teen programs, adult programs, we are very busy.
Let me just say this one more time, people at home. 2 to 3 programs a day.
Yes.
Okay. All right, just for those at home. Okay, go ahead.
If you look, let's take Tuesday night as an example. Tuesday during the day after school, we have our Teacher in the Library program, which is for children through grade 8 to come in and have help with their homework. We have teen programs going on, usually from 3 to 5 right after school. This is a typical Tuesday. Wednesdays, we have computer classes in the morning for adults that are needing to improve their skills so they can go back in the workforce. So there's something happening nearly every day.
The good thing is I didn't even know that.
If
I'm
I,
right
if I
across
could
the street.
interject another thing that happens Tuesday night, there's a free Spanish class for people
Right.
in the Peekskill
Yes.
community
Yes,
that I
I
attend
did
with
see
my
that. I
husband.
did see that.
And it's fantastic. And
We have-
when you go in, you see there's so much going on in the library.
And we still have story times, the traditional story times for children, Book Babies. We have Book Babies is our early literacy program to expose children ages 6 months old to literature. And studies have shown that children that are exposed to reading at that age do better in school. And we're their first stop.
Right.
I remember
we
bringing Z to a few of those.
Yes.
Over the summertime.
I mean, we still have the Tales, the dogs and the books, the Tales and
Yes.
Tales program for children who are uncomfortable reading out loud and they sit with a dog.
Oh, wow.
And the dog comforts them. So it's, I mean, and this was going on for years, but this still continues. And it's sort of the library's way of using service dogs.
That is
And it
absolutely
helps
awesome.
young readers become confident in reading out loud, because we all know that kids end up having to do that in school. And if you're not comfortable,
Yeah, you
you
don't.
come across as a non-reader, even though you may be. But if you're uncomfortable reading out loud,
And you don't lose it, because
That's right.
when I'm teaching adults, because that's one of the things I do, I'm very aware of which adults are uncomfortable reading
Right,
out
right, right.
loud.
You can
It
sense it,
follows
right.
them through life.
it does. You know, just to give you a sense, because we do get monthly statistics, and this is one of the things that we as a board look at each month at our monthly meetings, and that is the statistics, what's going up, what's going down, and how we're handling the growth in certain things. And so I always marvel, because our wireless internet use, year-to-date last year, so January through November of 2017, it was 170,705. Is that minutes, hours? I mean, it's
That's
people.
accesses.
That's
Accesses.
the number of times
That
the
somebody
internet
uses it.
was
Yes.
accessed in the
Yeah.
library.
Yes,
If you just look at we've actually started to pull apart the teen computer use separate from the adults, because Jennifer had set up a whole separate teen area, so you can track library use. There's also a study area that just got created for teens that's kind of over by the reference book, so it's a little quieter. But, so there's so much heavy adult computer use. Last year, we were at like 20,000 sessions, people?
Sessions.
And
Yeah.
a session is an hour?
Yes.
And so, right, so you have so much usage, you start to take it apart. Even the children's computer usage was at over 8,000.
Really?
Yes.
Well,
Goodness.
Jennifer increased the availability of computers in our library when she came, because Jennifer's only been here, what, 2 years?
Not quite 2 years.
Not,
So like when they
1.5
sign on,
years.
they get like an extra amount of time now.
What
that
I
it is?
did is I created a teen technology center. Before I came on board, teens and adults had to share the computers. And after school, of course, there would be such a high demand. We received a grant from Senator Terrence Murphy's office, and I created the technology center. And now we have 10 teen computers. And so all the teens have their own sessions, and they are over, and it is packed.
Yeah, I
Every
believe it.
computer in use after school.
I believe it. I remember when we used to go to the library after school. I think it's like 40 minutes or 30 minutes, and like on 28 minutes, a little 2-minute thing comes up. It's like, no, wait, I want to check 2 more things.
Well, and this is one of the things that we did to make the money stretch. We installed Chrome boxes instead of the standard computers.
Okay.
So we were able to buy a lot more because they were only $300 a piece. And then we bought iMacs. We have 2 of those so that the kids, now we have PC, we have Apple, we have Google. So
Everything,
we don't
yeah.
discriminate.
well,
Good to hear.
it's important, when we were talking and selecting a new director a couple of years ago, one of the most important things was a vision for the field library for the future.
There you go.
Where is it going to go? How is it going to serve our community? We have a very limited, I mean, it looks like a big space, but it's a very limited space. And how can we make the best use of that space and maybe someday enlarge it in some way? But
Expand
there
it.
are incredible demands, and Jennifer was extremely visionary, and that was one of the reasons that we selected
And
her.
you have so much to offer. That is so awesome to hear.
You know, one of the things that Jennifer and I were just talking about at the beginning of this week, because I had remembered Sybil always talking about these archives that are down in the basement or the lower level or somewhere. And, you know, the concerns around climate control over whatever was there. So I was asking Jennifer, what's actually down there? I mean, I've never been there. Now that I'm a trustee, be kind of curious what's there. And the whole board should probably take a tour. But Jennifer had actually gone back and was reading the minutes from when the library was first formed. And the connection that the library had when it was first formed to the Lincoln Museum and the Lincoln Society and the Peekskill Museum.
Oh, wow, nice.
So, I mean, tell them just some of the information you had found, because that's another important part of it. We're sort of like a little mini historical society
There you go.
down in the library as well.
At one point in time, back when we were founded in 1887, we were actually all connected. We were part of the museum, part of the society, and part of the library. And some of our materials are on permanent loan to the Lincoln Museum.
No way.
And I wouldn't have known any of this until I was reading the minutes. This is how I familiarized myself with coming to Peekskill and getting the history, is I started reading the minutes backwards. I started in 1978 because that's when we moved into the current building, to see what is our relationship with the city since we're in a city building. And then I got curious. I read 78 through 2016 when I was hired. And then I went backwards and read 1887. I still have a large gap in there I haven't gotten to yet.
Wow.
But to me, it's fascinating reading because it's the history of Peekskill and the history of the library. And you really get a sense of how the library and the city work together through all these years and all these different buildings.
That's awesome. You probably will get a phone call from Frank O'Dare after this TV show. Let you know.
Oh, I'm sure Frank would find it very interesting
of
as
course,
well.
without a doubt. Without a
What's
doubt.
down there?
I mean, did you know that we have the Common Council minutes, the historical minutes right there in the library from...
I would have never guessed that.
Neither did I. They have historical maps.
We have maps of the city from the city's founding.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take a tour when you guys go.
See, that's the thing. You could get lost in the tour when you start really digging through the stuff. We have yearbooks from Peekskill High School dating back from from its original. Yeah, we have.
Yearbooks.
This is kind of really exciting. My husband's former father-in-law, his West Point yearbook is in our archives.
Wow.
So he looked up his children's grandfather, and we made copies so he could take it to his children and say, "Here is what
wow.
your grandfather went to West Point, and here he was as a swimmer competing for West Point." It was amazing.
So it's important because we do have a city historian, and Frank is great
Yeah,
in
he is,
sharing
yeah.
these pictures and things of the past. And you start to connect him with some of these old books and documents. It'll be quite fascinating
Yeah, Frank
what
is
he comes
really
up with,
good,
right?
yeah.
But
So-
so the library is really multifaceted. And one of the goals that we had talked about a year ago with Jennifer was we have a very large Spanish-speaking population, and, you know, since we're limited on how many people we can hire, you know, what can we do to make sure that we're doing our best in serving non-English speaking patrons who would
Right,
come
right.
into the library, and how do we encourage, you know,
Right,
more
of
use?
course.
And so many of our new hires are bilingual.
Awesome.
We don't make it an absolute requirement. I mean, it is something we prefer, but if somebody's qualified and they're not bilingual, it doesn't mean we wouldn't hire them. But
Right.
the number of qualified bilingual people we get that join the library staff is terrific. And our big goal, quite frankly, is Jennifer's done a lot of work, and this following statement will resonate because I've been hearing it since 2005, and that is that the salaries that the library staff are paid are woefully low compared to even just the rest of the libraries in
We
the
have a
county.
tremendous challenge looking and attracting quality folks because of our
The pay.
salary structure.
I can understand that.
And then when we
completely.
get them, sometimes they leave, but we've nailed Jennifer's feet to the
You're not
ground.
going nowhere, right?
No way.
So Jennifer has sort of laid out for the board a strategy. You know, how do we start to close the gap competitively, and at the same time, you know, treat, you know, and achieve parity even within the existing staff, because we have a number of employees that are so dedicated. They've been with the library for 30 years.
Yeah, it's amazing.
You know, there's an extremely dedicated staff. They are great with the library patrons. It is just great to watch them interact with some of the adults who are trying to figure out computer usage, et cetera.
Yeah. Right.
You know, they're very helpful to anybody coming in, very friendly. But, you know, it's a challenge, because when you have a limited budget and a lot of need, and being able to attract really good people who are going to be dedicated to serving the community,
Right.
it isn't easy, but Jennifer's done a great job in that.
Well, applause to you and all of you, actually. Applause to everybody over there that's working to make it happen. So,
Thank you.
two last questions. One of them is actually a fun question. I like to save for last. But this question here, and anyone can answer this question. If there's anything you'd want the community to know about the Field Library, what would it be?
You know, I think the biggest thing is that we want you, we welcome you, and please come in. Things are happening at the library, and we have a lot of things. If you haven't been in a library in a while, we are more than just books.
Right. Some of the programs you mentioned earlier is awesome, you know. But I did hear about the Spanish.
Spanish
Oh my gosh! When I saw that, everybody, Rainey, get me in there. Can you get me in there? The list is full.
That's right.
If it's
Let me
full, how
tell
am I
you
gonna get you in there? You're the mayor. Okay.
that room is
I'll
packed.
call you back.
And I
room
do
is
want to tell you
completely
about that
packed.
Spanish class. We were able to do it. It actually cost us $2,000 to put that class on.
Okay.
We got a grant from the Westchester Library System for $1,500. So the library investment was the additional $5,000. That's how we were able to do it. We are really hopeful that we can do it again in the fall. So if there's anyone willing to donate to make that happen,
There you go. I'm sure we can get some sponsors out there. We have a great city.
if we could get just even a little bit to offset the cost to the library, we would love to offer this class again. The limit of 20 people is because that's all the instructor could handle.
Right,
Yeah.
and because so many people
Yeah.
were interested in that. There were so many people just emailing me, and I don't even work at the library, but they just, who do I got to talk to get over there? And it's like, just
So here's another thing that I certainly wasn't aware of it, and I'm not a techie person, but we do have some individuals on our board who really are technology savvy. And so I did not realize how many free things you can order through the library as a library member, library card. I mean, you can order books, music, movies from this Westchester Library System, have them delivered to our library for free.
Really?
Yep.
So the point is, which she's kind of, if I want book A and it's not available in Peekskill, I put it on my wish list, and it can come from Bedford or Pleasantville.
Shit right over here.
And it comes over.
But the same thing with movies and music. You can
Wow.
also download movies and music over at the
books.
library, and learning tools. You can download books, and it's all free.
Right.
So there are these.
Yeah, I gotta check my membership.
I couldn't find my old library card. I actually just got a new one. But actually, because Jennifer turned me on to a new author. I'm almost done with the book. It's great.
I told you.
And to check it out, I had to get a library card. I couldn't find an old one. Said it must be in the drawer with the passport. But
That's awesome.
but anyway, I mean, I think a lot of people don't even know that you can download free learning tools. I don't even know what some of this stuff means, like ABC and Mango Languages and Lynda.com.
Well, those I can explain.
know what this stuff means.
Well, ABC Mouse is for somebody who is really basic
I got
on
that.
Basic
computers.
reading, learning.
You know, it's somebody that really needs to be shown where the power button is. And I'm not being, insulting when I say that. There's people that just have never had the opportunity to interact, and that's what that is for. Lynda.com is a wonderful resource if you want to learn how to use computer software. There's free courses on there to learn how to use like Excel, QuickBooks,
Oh, everything. Okay.
Word, PowerPoint, Publisher, any of those types of
And
things.
that's on lynda.com?
That's on lynda.com.
Oh, I'm glad I came to this meeting.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
And then Mongo Languages, I always say Mongo because I'm used to saying manga with the
Right.
graphic novels, but Mango Languages, that's a great how to learn to speak another language resource. So if you couldn't come to our conversational Spanish class, you can go online and look up the Mango Languages for Spanish and learn how to speak Spanish through the database.
That is awesome.
And if you're somebody like me who is busy all the time and don't have time to come to the library, I work there, so I don't have an excuse, but we have some great streaming resources. I don't know if anybody has realized we have streaming music that you can listen to for 3 hours a week for free. You can download songs up to like 3 songs a day. And we have free ebooks that you can download. We have free audiobooks you can download. So
I love audiobooks.
yeah, so if it's,
Yeah,
3 a.m., as long as you have your library card, you can download it at your time and
That's awesome.
use all these
So
resources.
for those of you at home who don't know, please go to the library.
Get a
There's
library
lot
card.
there that we're learning today. So my last question, and due to time, I'm going to try to make it short. And you each can answer this question if you can briefly. What do you like best about working with this board?
What do I like best about working with this board?
Mm-hmm.
No matter how routine I think our monthly meeting is going to be, there's always something interesting, exciting. I'm always learning something new. I mean, I've been on the board almost 2.5 years. Already she's telling me resources that I didn't know of.
That's good.
It's so exciting. It's exciting also to see how the library touches every aspect of the community, because people will bring in concerns from different neighbors and friends and, other things that people have talked to them about that they want to see addressed in the library. And it's, it's exciting. It's almost like being at the center, at a hub of Peekskill.
There you go.
And so that to me is the most exciting thing.
Good answer. I appreciate that.
Right. What's interesting is our board is becoming a relatively young board. I mean, pretty soon Sandy's going to be the longest tenured person on the board.
I thought she was going to say the oldest. Okay, Mary.
She worded that correctly, right?
Because when I came on the board, David Hallerman, who's taken the point on resurrecting the Friends of the Field Library, came on at the same time. Karen Kelly has just joined the board in the last
okay,
couple
good.
of months.
Karen.
Ann
Good.
Douglas just joined the board last month. Tina Romeo joined the board the end of in December, I think, of last year. And so there's been some wonderful people who have been on the board for a long time who are pursuing other initiatives. Like Sue Feldman, who'd been on the board, is now starting a strings program with Daisy and is putting her energies to there. Kathy Johansson, who was one of the vice presidents, is the incoming president of Rotary.
Gotcha.
So, her energies are going there. And so as people have stepped off the board because there's other things that are in front of them, there is a lot of other people with a high interest on how to work with the library
Good.
and bring it out to the community,
There you
which
go.
is great. So there's so many wonderful ideas. And so one of the things we're going to do later this month is have a meet and greet up at Chapel Hill and try to, get the residents of Chapel Hill more familiar with what's offered at the
That
library.
is awesome.
And get
Let me know. I
people
would love to
engaged.
come to that. I would love to
It's
come.
on the 25th from 2 to 4
There
on
you
a
go.
Sunday.
There you go. I will be there.
And
Right
depending
after
on how it
church, I'll be
goes,
there.
we're gonna, do it in other locations as well. But, this is really to try to help people really get to understand the breadth of what the library has to offer.
That's
And
awesome.
maybe, join the Friends
There you
group.
go. That's how you do it.
I came on the board kind of innocently. Sybil. The joke was that Sybil had asked me to join the board. We were Rotarians together. And Sybil said, just come. And I said, well, I'm interested because I was a reading teacher. So reading is important to me. Of course, unaware that the library is a whole new world of
Yes.
not just reading. And the thought was, okay, so Sybil, how long is my term? And she said, term? I said, well, yeah, how long did I sign up for? And she said, life.
To be honest, I think some of the board members felt that way. That said, oh, there's new people.
Well, give us better than that.
But we've seen, as Mary has said, we've seen a lot of the board members have come from Rotary, but the library board reflects a dynamic city
Beautiful.
that we're proud of, and we want to see it get even better, and we want to see people use our library and walk out and say, "Wow,
Right.
that's a great place."
There you go. Last but not least.
Can I give one last shameless plug for a library service? This is a passion project of mine that we really just started last year, and that was to offer museum passes as an item to check out at the library.
Museum.
No, I'm
No.
talking about the Intrepid and Guggenheim and
MoMA.
the American Museum of Natural History.
Right.
We have passes to those. If you'd like to check them out, take your family, your kids for free. You just check them out with your library card and take your kids to the city for the day.
That's awesome.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't know we have that program, and the Westchester Children's Museum is one of them. Off the top of my head, I can't even tell you all of them because we offer so many different museums, and we're talking about big names. So we're
As
really
often
proud
as I
of
go to
that.
that library, I did not know this was happening.
Yes. Well,
Is this
and
a
one
new
of my
library?
goals
Am I
was
missing
really
something?
to increase our services to the
Right.
Spanish-speaking population. So one of the museum passes that I have is to El Museo del Barrio, which is the museum of kind of the Hispanic history.
Okay.
And so you can go and check out that pass, and especially for some of our Hispanic patrons.
Awesome.
So we're really excited about it.
You got me excited too. You got me excited too. So
And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our other two board members.
Oh,
Because
please.
the person probably with the longer tenure than you is Joe Galello.
Yes,
And he's from Cortland, right?
but he's a Peekskill city attorney. He has an
Okay.
office in the city.
Right, but we do try to get, because we do serve some of the town of Cortland, we get funding there, we do try to have representation
okay,
on our
good.
board. Melinda used to be in Montrose.
And Kathy Johansson,
Right.
Peekskill and Cortland.
Right. And Alan Most
Alan
joined the
Most.
board around the same time I did.
okay, great. Thank
So,
you.
it's a good board. We have a lot of fun. But there's a lot of big decisions, facing the board as we really try to figure out space constraints.
Right.
And we can't run 24/7. But figuring out how we do our best and getting the feedback from the community, because that's probably one of our next goals going forward is how do we assess how well we're doing? How do
There
we,
you
you know,
go.
what's a good
Some
way
sort
of
of
getting
survey or
feedback,
something,
you know,
right, yeah.
surveys and stuff
Not a
like
bad
that.
idea. All right.
But that takes resources.
Good. Well, once again, I want to say thank you all for joining me this evening. I really, really appreciate it. And those at home, I hope you weren't bored. Until next time, enjoy your great after evening or your great morning or whatever you're doing right now when you watch this. And also, this is Women's Appreciation Month as well. So you guys are my first guest.
Women's History Month.
Women's History Month, Women's Appreciation
Day,
Women's
yes.
Everything Month is this month. So thank you guys for being my first guest, and I look forward to coming over to the library soon.
Good.
All right. Good night, and I'll see you soon.